Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the sports podcast of the Kansas City Star and KCUR. It's Tuesday, May 19th, and I'm Blair Kirchhoff. We have a fun show today. The first FIFA World Cup game in Kansas City is less than a month away, and our guests today speak to what I believe will be the nations with the largest fan presence here next month, Argentina and the Netherlands. First, we'll speak with Ignaciao Bottaro, a journalist from Buenos Aires. He's an on-air personality for Telefe Noticias and was in Kansas City last week reporting from the city Argentina will make its base camp during their World Cup stay. Ignaciao tells us what he observed in Kansas City and what to expect from Argentinians who make the trip here for their first World Cup game on June 16th against Algeria and throughout their visit to KC. After a break, we switch continents and speak with, well, perhaps the most orange of the Dutch Orange Army of fans that faithfully follow their team. Daniel Oordt is the orange suit man. For our interview in Kansas City last month, Daniel was decked out in his orange blazer, necktie, slacks, and shoes. He'll explain what it means to be a fan of the Netherlands national team, the history, the joy, the heartbreak, and all the emotions that bond the fan base. The Dutch, Argentina, and England will have their base camps in Kansas City, with Algeria staying in Lawrence, and the Netherlands also will play a game here on June 25th against Tunisia. Afterwards, I'll have some final thoughts about what's on my radar in Kansas City sports this week. Let's begin with Ignaciao Bottaro, who was back in Buenos Aires when we spoke earlier this week. Ignaciao, it's great to see you. Thanks for being here, and I hope you had a good trip to Kansas City.
Hello, how are you? Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to speak with you. I was quite surprised when you emailed me, but yes, to speak about your beautiful city.
So, yeah, what had you ever been to Kansas City? Let's start there.
No, I've been 2 times before in the USA. I had the opportunity to know a lot of cities and a lot of states. I know Florida, Connecticut, Georgia, New York, Texas, California, but I've never been in Missouri before or in Kansas before. So it was quite a surprise for me, and it was really nice city to be.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. What were your expectations coming in, and then what did you discover about both Missouri and Kansas City?
Well, obviously, I did my homework before my trip, but it's not the same to read about the city than walk the city, you know? There are 2 completely different activities to do, and the feeling you get when you're in the city and you have the chance to see, to smell, to walk, to live the city, it's quite different. Also, we have a really tight schedule to follow, so from one hand, I had a chance to be there, and to very early, we had a live broadcast at 6 a.m. So I had the feeling about how the rhythm of the city was at the time. My last live broadcast was about 6 p.m. So it was quite 12 hours to see the city. But on the other hand, as I was telling you, the schedule was so tight that I didn't have the chance to, when you visit the city, maybe you're on holidays or working, and you only want like 15-20 minutes to stay in a spot and see. All right, to see, to pay attention to little details, to things that happen on while you're there. So I didn't have that chance to spend some time, feeling the city as much as I would like. The only reference I had before my trip about Kansas was Fargo, this TV series. Fargo season 4, I guess, season 4, season 5.
Yeah.
That was the only thing I knew about Kansas before, and also barbecue and jazz, obviously. But I found out about a really quiet and calm city. Small, not in terms of space, but in terms of inhabitants. It's 500,000 people, I guess, they live in Kansas. So the rhythm of the city was really calm, so quiet, so clean. Everything was neat, everything was like neat, new. So that was the first feeling I had about the city.
Okay. Well, what we expect to have many Argentina fans here because, of course, this is where they play their first game on the World Cup quest, the quest to defend their World Cup title. And they play, of course, 2 games in Arlington, Texas after this, but their first game in defense of their title is going to be in Kansas City. And of course, their base camp is here as well. So I've seen numbers as much as 100,000 Argentina fans perhaps following the team throughout its run. And we'll see if that many come to Kansas City. But tell me a little bit about the Argentina fan base and why are the fans so passionate about their team? And just tell us a little bit about the culture of Argentina soccer.
Well, I think I don't have time to speak about Argentinian football culture, but I give it a try. Well, this is something new for many of us because this is the first World Cup we are getting here as world champions. For me, for my generation, it was the first time in 2022 to see the team became champion. My father always spoke about Diego Maradona and how 1986 in Mexico was something else, and you see the matches and you see the videos of those matches and you see that player and it's unbelievable. I think the history of sport, there will never be, sport in general, not only football, sport in general, there will never be a tournament that only one player could do as Maradona did at the World Cup. So the culture of Argentina football, it's really old, more than 100 years old, and we feel club football really hard. We are first during 4 years. We are first fans of our clubs, and then one time every 4 years we all together get one as a team. We root for the national team, the shirts, the colors, everything. The countries unite. Maybe we have a lot of political, economical, social problems, but one time every 4 years we are only behind one team. And well, the fans. Well, I got the feeling. I was speaking this with in this media trip. We went with also the sub-director of one of the main sport newspaper of Argentina, Diario Ole. So I was speaking with Diego Macias, this guy. He agreed with me that maybe the people that spoke to us representing Kansas City, maybe they don't have a correct feeling about what will expect them about the Argentinian people that go in there. Because the city is so calm, the city is so perfect. And Argentinian fans, during the World Cup, they cut the streets, they congregate all together, maybe 2 WhatsApp messages, and you have 20,000 people in one park. One of the sudden, you don't know, the U.S. mentality is really correct and prepared and organized, and maybe in some aspects we are not like that. We are more spontaneous. So it will not be possible to, we will let know the council that we will meet at the park at 4 p.m. No, that will never happen. So the authorities and the police will find out that one day there are 20,000 Argentinians like crazy, with flags, with drums, with noise, and so much noise in the park. Maybe they don't expect that to happen, and that will happen because we are like that. I know the Origin Hotel, that is the hotel Argentina is going to stay. It's quite a secretly placed, near the river, and you need to go through 2 streets to get there. But if Argentina is going to stay in that hotel and it's going to go to a campus that is half an hour away every day, twice a day, you will have people at that hotel gate and in that campus facility gate every single day. Because we are like that, because we are optimistic and we want to see the players and to show the players the support we will have. Say that I don't really know how many Argentinians are going to go because every 4 years, it's the same story. Well, there's not much money, the economic is crazy. Well, the salaries are really bad, and you don't know how, but there's Argentinian people everywhere. So I don't really know how to give you a number, an estimate of how many Argentinian fans are going to be there, but maybe if I'm not optimistic and I tell you, don't expect that much, maybe it happened the opposite way.
Right. Ignaciao Bottaro is our guest. And okay, so we'll leave on this one. If Argentina finds a way to win its second straight World Cup, will the party in Buenos Aires be as large as it was 4 years ago? That was amazing.
Yes, that was something else. I remember during the World Cup final, I was working. Something really funny happened to me. I was working at the music festival. I explained it really quick to you. I was hired two months earlier to the World Cup to host a music festival. The party, the celebration, the in-between shows. There's a streaming between the in-between shows. I was hosting that, and they spoke to me in maybe October. So they told me, yes, it's the weekend of 17 and 18 December. Yes, okay, we arrange the money. I would say, yeah, it's fine. I'll do it. Okay, perfect. So when you're 2 months earlier, prior a World Cup, you don't know when is the final. If you ask me now, I don't know when is the final. I will know. So the World Cup started. Argentina was playing well. We started winning matches, and I realized when the final was. Was December 18. So it was like, damn it, I had to work that day. So I watched the match in a big screen, in main stage, the biggest screen there. I watched with other 10,000 people I didn't know, and I couldn't leave. So I couldn't go to the center of the city to celebrate with all the people that were in the street because I was working. So I got to host that music festival until midnight, I guess, and then I could leave, but you could hear everything. Argentina arrived. That was a Sunday. Argentina arrived on Monday, Tuesday to Buenos Aires, and they did the trip from the bus from the Ezeiza facility, this Argentinian campus, to the center of the city. Well, that day there were 5 million people in the state of Buenos Aires. 5 million. Wow. Usually in Buenos Aires, we have a population of 3 million people. So we have 5 in the streets. So I remember I watched I had the opportunity to see the bus, like I was going live for the channel I was working for at that time. I could see Messi, I could see all the players, I could see the World Cup, the trophy, like a couple of feet away from me. But the people that were near to the center of the city, they couldn't see anything because there was so many people. The highways were crowded with people. It was a complete mess. Yeah, the party was insane that time. I wouldn't tell you how it would be if we win again, if we repeat.
Well, all that passion is coming to Kansas City here next month, and we can't wait for it. Ignaciao Bottaro, that was a great conversation. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. It was a pleasure to speak about the city, and I hope that you enjoy. You had the opportunity to have a World Cup. I know that maybe not all American people know how important is this. A World Cup is the main tournament in the world. I know you have your sports. I know you prefer football and hockey and basketball and but this is a complete world phenomenon. It's another level. The whole world will be looking. So you're really lucky to host not only one. You're hosting 4 stage matches and 2 playoff matches. So maybe I don't like to say this loud, but if we are lucky enough, we will be back in the quarterfinals to Kansas.
Yeah, let's start. Just start. Introduce yourself and give us the thumbnail description of who you are, what you do.
Yeah, for sure. I'm Daniel Oordt, known In Dutch, we say de man in het oranje pak, the man in the orange suit, which has become the orange suit man. Worldwide, I have now attended every single Dutch national team match, aside from the ones that we were not permitted to enter during COVID, since November of 2015, an away game in Astana, Kazakhstan. So kind of funny that my journey started there. I was born in the Netherlands in 1995, lived there for about 5 years, then moved to Canada. Grew up on the west coast of Canada, British Columbia, Vancouver, and then immigrated to the United States in 2015. And, through all the years, I've always been a die-hard Dutch soccer fan. And I remember promising myself through all the matches that I watched as a little boy that one day when I can afford it myself and I have my own big boy job, that I'm going to make it my mission to be there for my team. And it's amazing that I get to realize that now, especially with this tournament coming up here.
You live in outside of Phoenix.
Yeah, Scottsdale.
Right.
Yeah.
And work as a pilot.
Correct, yeah.
All right. Does that allow you to visit or go watch the Dutch national team?
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible flexibility with the job, obviously. We have great travel benefits. So, it would be a lot more expensive. And you know what? Even if I was in a different career field, this is something that I would have the money left over for. But it gives me the flexibility and say, you know what, I'm based in Atlanta, so I'll finish a work trip in Atlanta and I can plan it all in. Hey, I get off work at 2 and I'll catch the 4 p.m. flight to Amsterdam to be in time for a 5 p.m. kickoff the next day. So,
well, it's incredible that you haven't missed a game with the national team in more than 10 years, dozen years. How many games are we talking about here, or matches?
We're looking at close to 100 now. Yeah, over a span of this time. So
How many continents?
Well, it's been let's see here, South America. We've been to you know what? It's interesting, and in all this time we haven't been to North America yet. So that will be one of the games that we're going to be playing in the United States or Canada. Will be one of the check off. Obviously, Europe. Africa.
Did you go to South Africa?
I wasn't. That was in 2010, so I was still a
2010.
little young then. 2010, I would have been 15, so I watched that one on TV in Holland. Right. No, like I said, my real stewardship started, Kazakhstan is in Asia, so we can call it that, right. In 2015 at that match, yeah.
So you only lived in Holland for 5 years.
Yeah.
Why hold on to the fandom?
Yeah, well, I'm still Dutch, a Dutch nationality, Dutch passport. I speak Dutch. I truly feel Dutch on the inside, even though I've grown up in different countries and different cultures. We all have kind of a nationality we cling to. And for me, that's how I felt, especially growing up. Even though I grew up in a school system in Canada, I never truly felt Canadian or the culture about being Dutch, and I still speak Dutch at home with my family and whatnot. This was an opportunity now for me to, still hold on to that culture, be it the language, be it the music, be it the identity. So being able to combine that in with this and my love for soccer, I find it just the perfect combination. Yeah.
How about characterizing a Dutch soccer fan for me? You obviously represent with the colors. I've seen the dance. It's unbelievable, the dance and the numbers of people that get together. In Kansas City, it reminds me a little bit of Chiefs fans, but they don't dance in the streets the way I see Dutch fans do. So what is it about the Dutch soccer fan that's such a, I don't know, it's such a party. It's such a celebration.
It really is. It's we call it oranje gekte, oranje craziness that happens, every 2 years for a European Championship or a World Cup, or here next week is King's Day in Holland, so that's another festivity when we dress up in orange. For me, I would say it's a pride of who we are. We are very proud, for such a small nation of 17.5 million people. If you were to look at performances on the highest stage. Yeah, you can look at France, Brazil, Argentina. These countries outperform, but they also have massive populations. And if you were to go per capita at a scale, then the Dutch are the most successful team in the world by far. It also comes down to, 3 World Cup finals, 3 losses, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. and a lot of generational trauma that has now kind of evolved through generations. The '74 World Cup final, and you know what the post-war feelings, sentiment with Germany, a match that you know, I wasn't alive for it, but everybody says we should have won. We were the better team, and we gave it away. And you know, '78, you know, again a post away from winning the World Cup before extra time. And then, you know, people talk about that third World Cup final in South Africa, but I look at all the other semifinals: '98 out on penalties against Brazil, 2000, which for me was my first vivid memory and heartbreak, was the loss to Italy on penalties at home, when, you know, a home team favorites to win the tournament and then go crashing out. So it's almost created a weird, I would say, romantic lust of something you can't attain. You know, the best way I could describe it is maybe a pretty girl that you've been chasing for years and years, you just can't get her. That's almost what the World Cup feels for us. And it's almost like addicting, like we need to keep going. And that drives a lot of the emotion and the way people come out for their team. And, you know, that's difficult to understand if you're not Dutch. Within our community, we all were there crying all those moments together, and we feel a real bond in that regard. So, that, along with that, and just Dutch gezelligheid, as we say, our coziness and fun, we're very fond of coming together, be it around good food or drink, and just having a good time listening to music. I think those three big things play together to create almost a perfect storm of, you know, having everything that kind of encompasses what it is to be Dutch and to come out. You know, it's not only our performances on the field. It's not only that we have Messi, or it's not only that we have a cool color or maybe a cool national anthem. It all comes together in one big melting pot. And, you know, I think the funniest way to describe that is, you know, you'll have bandwagon Argentina fans. You're going to have bandwagon Brazil fans, Messi, Ronaldo, somebody, you know, and more power to them. Maybe have never been to Argentina, will wear an Argentina jersey this summer. You're not going to see that with the Netherlands. You're going to see people that have some sort of connections or allegiance to the team. And, you know, I find that way more fascinating to support a country like that and a team like that, personally. And obviously I'm very biased, but that we still have something that's missing, something that is to attain. You know, we're not going in for our 5th World Cup and it's another walk in the park. You know, it's something that evaded us so many times and should have been ours a long time ago. And be it being very unlucky, a little bit of fault of our own, we're still chasing it. So, yeah.
What's going to happen when the Netherlands wins a World Cup?
Well, I think I could retire at that point, right? Yeah, it almost gives me chills just sitting here and just thinking about that. I know I'll be in tears. Yeah, it's not only for what I've put into it and all the travel and being with everybody and all the nearly men and the nearly moments of all those years. It's almost something deserved. It's deserved, you know. We're the best nation to have never won the World Cup. Yeah. And if there's one country right now out of all 48 teams that are coming this summer that deserves a World Cup, it's us. And I think most people can agree with that. So this isn't more about, you know, the World Cup isn't given away, it's earned. Yeah, but eventually it is deserved after a while. And, you know, God forbid we ever end up in a 4th final and mess that up again. You know, I don't think there's much of an answer left at that point for system, strategy, or coaching, you know. At one point, it's got to give, right? So,
Well, what will be the impression that the Dutch fans leave here in Kansas City?
yeah, it's you know, we leave a mark on a lot of these cities and countries we visit. You know, obviously, and in the last decade, I've been to countries multiple times, and you know, when we go in somewhere, we're there to make a statement. You know, it helps that we have a nice color orange. You know, it wouldn't have worked as well if our color was white or black, but. You know, we're lucky to have the orange color.
Even though it's not on the flag.
It's not on the flag, no. Again, and that is because the royal family, if people are curious to know, it's actually from the Orange area of France, where the roots of our royal family are construed back in the day. No, what Kansas City is in store for is something they've never seen before. And you know, that's an easy tagline to throw around. But I think, you know, and living in the United States and speaking to people have no idea what a World Cup is and what one World Cup match, the viewership, what goes into that. I know football well. I know other sports well. It makes the Super Bowl look very small, a very small scale event versus what's going to happen here. So our famous Orange Dutch bus with my great friends over at the Dutch Orange Bus Association, they've got that bus on a boat as we speak right now, on a boat over the Atlantic right now on its way to Galveston. That becomes the center of our party. That bus will lead its march. We'll have upwards of 5 to 7 to 10,000 people behind the buses at our games, and that in alone, and people can take a look on YouTube, take a look at TikTok, especially what we did during the European Championships a couple summers ago,
Germany.
just how out of hand that can get and how fun that becomes, and the Federation, I have to say, does a fantastic job no matter where we travel in the world, especially even this last qualifier stage. Ons Oranje, which is our Dutch Federation, and the Dutch Federation's fan page, are really adapting that the Dutch identity now is being displayed on a world stage. So before, throughout the last 10 years, it was more focused on the Dutch consumer, the Dutch fan, but not much more out there. And now it's becoming more of an international stage. Information is being sent in English. It's being described. The events that we have at our qualifying matches, we had 4 qualifiers away this cycle: Poland, Malta, Lithuania, and Finland. And at every single game, the Dutch Federation rents out a bar, restaurant, massive area, something similar to KC Live here. For example, in Helsinki, their equivalent of KC Live was rented out by the Dutch Federation for our fans there. So, it's like you never left Amsterdam. We got Dutch DJs being flown in to Helsinki to play music for the Dutch fans. We partied the whole day before the game. So it becomes really a 3-day festivity. And this is about a qualifier match that was held last year in Finland, for example. So that's only going to be amplified when that comes here. And I think it's a perfect time even for our fan community and what we put on. Qatar World Cup, we had a very small fan base also due to some of the boycotts going on with Qatar. Euro 2024 was really the next moment of that. Now we're ready to shine here, and that exploded. And now everybody, the sponsorships that they have with the bus, the Federation really taking this to a next level as well. And then coming to the United States, where it's party town, it's lights, business, camera, action. It's a show culture here. So all 3 of those things coming together at the perfect time. You couldn't have written the script any better.
Here's what's on my radar in Kansas City sports this week. We made such a big deal of the Chiefs and NFL schedule release last week that it seems like we should follow up. I was a bit surprised they started with 2 home games and end with home games in 3 of the final 4 weeks. It means that for 3 months, from the 3rd week in September until the 3rd week in December, they'll have just 3 games at Arrowhead Stadium. It just seems odd. It's good to see Sporting Kansas City come up with a 2nd straight victory, this one at Austin FC last weekend. Back-to-back victories hasn't happened since August 2024. Look, the outcome didn't pull Sporting out of the basement, but it should give them a little momentum going into Saturday's home game against New York, the final game before the World Cup break. And the KC Current has turned the corner on their season with 3 straight victories, and 5 of the last 6 goals scored over the past 2 games have come courtesy of Temwa Shawinga. It's a different team when she's healthy and on the field. That'll do it for this week. Thanks to our SportsBeat KC staff of Gabriella Lacey, Suzanne Hogan, and Irvin Zhang, and to our editors Hannah Wise, Jeff Rosen, and Scott Chasen. Thanks so much for listening. Please feel free to reach out with a comment, question, review, rating, subscription. We love the feedback. We'll be back next week with another SportsBeat KC, where we talk sports in Kansas City.